again, and then we need to get the numbers down to a level which is manageable.
Making his first appearance at a government daily briefing since returning to work, Boris Johnson also announced a further 674 deaths have been reported in hospitals, care homes and in the community. The World Health Organization says China has refused its repeated request to take part in investigations into the origins of Covid-19. The body says there's no good reason for them to be excluded. And Colonel Tom Moore has made yet another million for the NHS. On his 100th birthday today, he's now raised more than £31 million.
Talk Sport weather. With QuickFit, we are still open across the UK in case you need us. Find your nearest centre at quickfit.com.
Rain continuing for much of the UK overnight. Brighter tomorrow, although there'll still be a few showers.
Talk Sport Sports Update.
Paris Saint-Germain have been declared French champions after their season was brought to an early end, but Lyon say they could launch legal action after they were placed in 7th and missed out on European football. The fate of the Bundesliga season will be determined next week. Chancellor Angela Merkel met with regional leaders today but did not confirm whether football could return. German football journalist Lars Vollroth has been speaking with TalkSport too, and he says some clubs are eager for the season to resume.
Werder Bremen, Schalke 04, for example, they desperately need help, and they need to get the Bundesliga restart again, because that's the only way where the money from the television can start again, and that's what they need so badly right now.
Brighton striker Glenn Murray has told TalkSport that some of the protocols surrounding the Premier League's possible return are sparticle. The Premier League's latest Project Restart talks continue tomorrow. Blackburn Rovers are the latest club to agree wage deferrals for their first-team squad and senior management. Over April, May and June, they'll receive between 1/2 and 2/3 of their monthly salaries, and the launch of Cricket's The 100 has been delayed by a year because of the pandemic. If you'd like further reaction to today's news related to Covid-19, you'll find that over on Talk Radio.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Kick-off with Hugh Wozencroft on Talk Sport.
This is Kick-Off on TalkSport. Busy first hour. We're going to keep things rolling for the next couple as well. For the next 60 minutes, we will ask, how legitimate is Mauricio Pochettino's interest in the manager's position at Newcastle? Would Dave Kitson make a good PFA chief executive? And Cameron Jerome, in a few moments' time, will be giving us the lockdown lowdown for players out in Turkey. Keep your tributes coming in for the NHS as well. Give us a text, 81089, or tweet at TalkSportKO. This is Kick-Off. And what a conversation it was for us during that first hour. Passionate views, not just from Darren Lewis and Chris Uolumo, but from you as well. Thank you to everyone that got in touch. Chris, this says, I love Chris. I'm a Watford fan. I've also been furloughed. I doubt I'll have a job at the end of this. I've also lost 2 aunties because of the virus. Watford could well go down, but it isn't going to bring back lost people. God bless, says Des in Malden Hornet, but he says we have to get rid of the virus first. Nick says locking players away for 6 weeks in total isolation, well, that's not going to work. You can't even ask players to do that. It's a breach of their human rights, and they'll never agree. Also, is that for all leagues? That's a lot of players and staff. It's totally impossible. Anthony says, here is our new reality. Football cannot be played safely until there is a vaccine. Every other option is not an option. And Neville might need his head checked, because Neville has said Darren Lewis for Prime Minister. So Neville, Neville, you got the required laugh. Darren Lewis of the Daily Mirror is with me this evening on Kickoff, as is Chris Uolumo, former Scotland striker. Plenty for us to discuss on the horizon, as I mentioned, Mauricio Pochettino, Dave Kitson. But let's start, I guess, on that theme of coronavirus, but what it's like Being in lockdown, thousands of miles from home, I know that there are plenty of people in this current situation, but what about footballers? It's one thing being with your family in the country of your birth. Many players, though, are far away from the ones that they hold dearest. Cameron Jerome, the former Norwich, Birmingham and Stoke striker, is now playing out in Turkey with Göztepe in the Turkish Super League. He joins us on Kickoff this evening. Good evening, Cameron.
Evening, guys.
Firstly, how are you? How are you coping during this experience?
Yeah, I've been, first and foremost, I'm well, good and well, in a good health, same with the family, so, you know, obviously, from a point of view of health, which is the most important view, yeah, we're pretty much fine and well. Just, you know, I suppose like everyone else in the same situation, we're just waiting to hear different bits of news, and, you know, we're just sort of watching as the world goes on, as such.
We know there are a lot of players who are in a similar situation to yours, but just talk us through your own situation. What's it been like? But out there, no family. Has it been frustrating?
Yeah, I think what's the most frustrating part is just the routine, to be honest with you. I'm with my fiance and my 2 children, so my immediate family is here. Obviously, my dearest and nearest loved ones back home in England. It's difficult not being able to see them as regularly as you'd like. But thank God they're all doing well, and you know, they're keeping safe, and they're following the protocol as well. So that's the most important thing, that if you can't be with people, that at least you can speak to them and check up on them and make sure they're doing well and fine as well. So that obviously eases the mind a little bit. But in regards to the lockdown, it's just, I mean, we've had it pretty harsh here, some of the restrictions. I mean, we're in now, we started a full-scale lockdown tonight, as of tonight till Monday. We've been in that for the last 3 or 4 weekends, so they're quite strict with the lockdowns here and the sort of the rules and what you can and cannot do. But other than that, it's the same as everyone else. I think everyone in the world's in the same boat. You know, everyone's praying, everybody's waiting for a solution. There doesn't seem to be an answer. But yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult for obviously being an athlete and being used to having a routine and training every day. It's pretty tough to be at home and having to help your children with their homework.
Yeah, Cameron, just on that, I know it's difficult, but you've got your fiancée, you've got your 2 children there. You're talking about routines. You know, I think are you able to keep your fitness up with obviously how strict the lockdown is? How long will it take you if we do come back to even get back to your sharpest and your fittest? Are you able to train the way that you want to?
Yeah, I mean, we've been back into the last 3 or 4 days in terms of small individual isolated groups of 5s and 6s. So we're working the last 4 days in the hoping that we can start together as a group next week. I'm not quite sure what their plan is in terms of restarting the season. It seems to be like everybody's sort of waiting and coordinating with each other on UEFA and FIFA and whether it's safe to actually do so. So in terms of training, it's obviously, you know, it's like, as being an ex-pro yourself, Chris, it's difficult to mentally do things at home. I think it's one of the hardest things you can possibly do as an athlete, is get up and train on your own. You know, when you're used to doing it in a team environment and going to work as such, you know, to do it at home, it's pretty tough.
I do remember Mikel, former Chelsea midfielder, he has left his club, Trabzonspor, and has said, look, I'm unhappy at playing. I was unhappy at the fact that they didn't want to stop playing. Players were scared out there. Is that view common, and were you scared at any point?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much all football had stopped in terms of mainland Europe, and we actually played 2 games behind closed doors, and you know, the players from various different nations, and they were sort of saying at the club, you know, you shouldn't stop them, everyone else is stopping. You can't move, it's continuing. It's like, you know, obviously the guidelines and what the government was sort of told them at the time, that there was not that many cases here and it was still safe to do so. It was going to continue behind closed doors, which they deemed to be appropriate at the time. And then it got to the point where I think a lot of the captains from every team spoke and they said, look, guys, we're putting ourselves at too much risk. we need to sort of stop this. And after that, it sort of shut down a little bit quite quickly, actually. So, well, I mean, it was pretty scary, actually. It was strange. So, the outcome there was most of what stopped playing, and sometimes they still started playing. Didn't seem right, to be honest.
Cameron, just on that, you said there that obviously the players they're airing their views, but you said that you're going to be starting group training next week. Is there an actual start date that you're supposed to be getting back for? Is that actually in place yet, or is it just all hearsay?
I think they've sort of flirted with the idea of starting back on the 12th of June, if I'm correct. I think they still want to keep meetings for the federations and the Minister of Science and the Minister of Health to sort of tick boxes and such and give it the green light to go ahead. But what the talk is over here is the teams can start training as of Monday in main training groups. And hopefully they were thinking about maybe starting the season, if it's safe to do so, around about the 12th, 13th of June, and finishing by the 20th of July. So the kids on top of the 6th round will complete the 8th round of fixtures to complete.
Cameron, you mentioned you're there with your fiancée, 2 young children. Chris was talking earlier on about maybe how we're going to get football back in the UK. And of course, Joey McAnuff, was on the show as well, both he and Chris saying it's Darren too, it's all about the safety of the players. Do you feel like the Turkish League can guarantee your safety at this point?
No, I don't think anybody can hand it half say, look, it's safe to go back. I think the Lions do turn their instruction to do so. I think, everybody's in the sort of same situation where they want football back. Everybody sort of needs football back. The world needs football back. The economies of these countries need football back. But is it safe to do so? That's the million-dollar question. Is it a case of putting people at risk to save the economies of these countries? And that's ultimately what I think it's going to boil down to, really. I think it's sad to say, but it's going to be a money situation.
Cameron Jerome, apologies, the line just broke up towards the end there, but thank you so much for joining us on Kick-Off this evening. That is Cameron Jerome, former Norwich, Birmingham and Stoke striker, now plying his trade out in Turkey at the moment and giving us an update on how things are being seen over there. Up next, we're going to talk about Newcastle United, this imminent takeover on the horizon. Rumours this week about Mauricio Pochettino being the big first name through the door at St James's Park. What's the truth in it, though? Darren Lewis is going to give us an update. We'll also be speaking to Luke Edwards of the Daily Telegraph as well. Stay with us on Kick-Off.
Across the nation, we've been discovering loads of new ways to get moving around the home. Why not join in? Join the lounge lunging, 1-2 punching, and the star jumping while the spaghetti's on the hob. Yeah, careful, don't let that water boil over. Join the... I can't remember the last time I stretched that out. The training as not so usual, with tins of beans swapped in for free weights. And the cheeky conference call squat. Oh, go on. It's not like they can see you.
We can see you, Mel.
Join the impromptu dance parties happening over the phone. And the just 5 more minutes of playing astronauts and aliens in the garden. You could even join in the afternoon unwinding, however you fancy. Whether it's a shimmy, twist or a side bend. Join the chair dips, the leg lifts and the just shaking things out for a bit, happening all across the country. It's time to stay in and work out. Join the movement. To see how you can get moving, search Stay In, Work Out.
Right now at the Halifax, wherever we're working from, we're all working together to be there for you.
So our customers can apply for a paid holiday on mortgages, loans or credit cards.
And because we want you to stay home and stay safe.
We've created step-by-step guides to help you set up online and mobile banking,
which is safer and easier than you may think.
But for those that really need to see us in person, we're keeping as many branches open as possible.
So however you need us at the Halifax,
we're here to help.
Terms and conditions apply. For more information, go to halifax.co.uk.
Hit the back of the net and win a year of free takeaways when we play Eat My Goal on TalkSport with Just Eat. Listen to Hawksby and Jacobs tomorrow afternoon from 1 and take on another listener in a mouth-watering penalty shootout challenge. Beat the opposition with your on-target football knowledge and win £250 worth of delicious takeaway from Just Eat. Score matchday meals for the rest of the season and enjoy great food anytime. Eat My Goal on TalkSport, delivered by Just Eat.
Somebody say Just Eat.
TalkSport Company, attention!
national hero. One man, 100 years, and a record-breaking £30 million raised for the NHS. Captain Tom Moore, Talk Sport salutes you, sir.
Your country needs you to do your bit in the fight against coronavirus. Soldier on, like Captain Tom.
Careful with those candles, Captain!
Talk Sport. Do your bit. Stay at home and save lives.
That means you, Bill and Rill.
What, me? Talk Sport. Coronavirus. Send it on.
Black leather glove, no sequin. Buckles on the jacket, it's elite.
You're listening to Kick-Off on TalkSport. I am Hugh Wisencroft, barely taking a breath for the first, hour and 20 minutes. Darren Lewis of the Daily Mirror, Chris Uwalumo, the former Scotland striker, are with me this evening. Gentlemen, you all right there?
All good?
Yeah, taking a breath, Chris?
I'm trying to get Chris to dance to the songs that you come in and out of the breaks with. And he's not coming with it yet, but...
You're always trying to go up in competition against people, Darren. Why don't you start dancing, mate?
No, I want him to join me. I want him to join me, and him are going to do it together.
Okay.
Yeah, well, can't see us, so, you know.
We're going to talk about Newcastle United next. Their fans definitely dancing at the moment. Many of them, some of them thinking maybe this isn't exactly the new set of owners they wanted, but the revolution, it seems, is drawing ever closer. The stories about who might be involved as well after this takeover is complete are ramping up. Big spending on the horizon, of course, with those Saudi Arabian owners. Not just players being linked with the club either. It's believed Mauricio Pochettino could well be tempted by the project at Newcastle, but also £19 million a year as well in terms of his salary. Let's get the latest on it and speak to Luke Edwards, North East reporter at the Telegraph, both the Daily and Sunday Telegraph. Good evening, Luke.
Good evening.
Firstly, I think we're all expecting this takeover. We've been expecting it for some while. How close is it at the moment?
I mean, I've just listened to what you were saying there, and, you know, I think I probably speak for most Newcastle fans to say there's a little bit of anxiety here as well as excitement, because until it's done, it's not done, and you know, there's been so many sort of failed takeovers in the past that I think you're sort of conditioned just to have a little nagging sense of doubt in the back of your mind, and then you talk about all those wonderful things that might be happening, you know, the project and the excitement it will bring and the ambition, but until it's done, I think you need to be a little bit cautious. Granted, there's been a delay today in passing the fit and proper person's test. The buyers don't think it's going to be an insurmountable objection, but there has been a slowing down in the process because of the accusations of piracy against Saudi Arabia. So there's been a delay, so that caused a little bit more anxiety, but hopefully it's just, you know, we're going through the process and hopefully it doesn't prove to be a problem moving forward.
Anxiety over the takeover, whether it will or won't happen. And already we're talking about the new manager. Steve Bruce still in position. It might be Mauricio Pochettino. Darren Lewis, I know you wrote something on this. Mauricio Pochettino, is there fact here?
Well, I'll let Luke go first. I know Luke's very much across.
Yeah, sorry, Darren. I'm just going to interrupt you there, but no, I mean, you keep hearing different things, don't you? There's a lot of names being linked, and you've got the buyers sort of briefing, which I don't quite know why they are briefing quite so much, but the buyers briefing that Steve Bruce, you know, will be given a chance. Effectively, they need Steve Bruce in case the football season restarts, because Newcastle aren't safe from relegation, of course, and then they've got a big cushion, but they're still going to probably need another couple of wins if the season resumes. So they can't afford to just try and bring in a new manager and disrupt the team. So they need Steve Bruce in place until the summer. I would expect him to be replaced in the summer. I think privately he expects to be replaced in the summer. But you know, maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe they'll surprise him, and actually he will get a genuine chance to show what he can do. But the Pochettino links, you know, is one of a number of managers who've been linked. But I don't think they would probably move for someone until they know what's happening with, you know, this season and whether it's going to play out or not.
Darren, I don't know if you wanted to come in.
No, yeah, I was going to add to that. As I say, I kind of defer to Luke. I know Luke's very much someone with some very good insight into the Newcastle situation, and has been able to kind of sort the wheat from the chaff, if you like, with previous attempted, in inverted commas, takeovers. I think with this one, I mean, we wrote about it for the Daily Mirror last week because we were aware that there was an interest in taking what would be a blue chip manager for Newcastle. But at the time, we did say that it does look as though Steve Bruce is going to get the chance to obviously finish the season, and then they'll look at what their options are from there. As Luke was saying, there is now a brief coming out from the people who are taking over, and agents are making players and other clubs aware that they are looking to change things at Newcastle, and that's quite interesting given the calibre of player that could, for example, become available for free at the end of the season. If you're trying to attract players, and what better to sell to them than a guy who's taken a club that didn't really have the resources of the other clubs in the top 6 to a Champions League final, and we know that he got them into the top 4 and kept them into the top 4, so there'll be excitement around that. But I was talking to other people that there's a lot of concern that not enough respect has been shown to Steve Bruce for the job that he's done at the club, which I think is entirely fair. And as you rightly say, Luke, that the owners have to be careful, because if they're briefing so heavily that they're interested in Pochettino, what's to say that Bruce won't say, well, good luck to you then. I wish you all the very best.
Luke, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that Darren's made a series of good points there, and that Pochettino, as much as I like Steve Bruce, I think we have to recognise the job that Steve Bruce has done. I don't think this takeover would have happened if it hadn't been for the job Steve Bruce has done. If Newcastle had one place off the relegation now at this stage, when the potential of the season still to be played out, would a takeover have gone through? I very much doubt it. I think the buyers would have wanted to buy into a club that could fall into the Championship for a third time in 13 years, and all the financial impact that brings. So it's because Bruce has stabilised it so well after the departure of Benitez, and everybody predicted that Newcastle would be one of the favourites to go down this season, would be in a long, hard relegation battle. Well, they haven't been really. They haven't been in the bottom 3 since September. They've actually exceeded expectation. We're saying, let's not forget they're also in the quarter-final of the FA Cup for the first time in a decade. So I think Steve whether that gets him the respect, as Darren calls it, he deserves, I don't know. Whether the new owners will want to keep a manager who still remains fairly, divides opinions, to be polite, amongst Newcastle supporters, I just don't know. I think these things normally play out. New owners take over, the manager gets a chance, but then the reality is that they want their own man in. And Pochettino, look, the job he did at Tottenham, absolutely fantastic. When you're one of the most coveted managers in the world, it would be a huge, huge statement if they were to get Pochettino. But I would for, if they did give Bruce a chance, I think he deserves one, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, just to come in there on the back of what Luke and Daniel said, I think as a manager, Steve Bruce been in this position before, the exact same position, the club getting bought, he's not going to walk away. Steve Bruce, he's a great brand at the minute, he's been positive for the club. I think the Pochettino thing, I think it's very interesting. Newcastle, the foundations they've got there, if the takeover is successful, the money that they're going to put into the club, Pochettino, surely he must be getting everyone excited up there, because he's the right fit for a club to change the brand, to change the way that they go out there and play their football, but also his network, the scouting network, to bring an interest the players to come to that club with the backing. That must be exciting. Surely the fans must be delighted just with the link in itself. Look. Yes, I think so. There will be. He'll have rivals. Let's not forget, the name Rafa Benitez in all this. A huge majority of fans absolutely never when he signed a new contract last 12 months ago. Chose to go to China because he was, he just didn't believe the takeover was going to happen. He wasn't prepared to wait on that. That really caused a civil war, really, at Newcastle between, fans arguing amongst themselves. Fans calling for boycotts, 10,000 not renewing season tickets. It just created a really sort of toxic atmosphere. But I think there is still a large section of the fan base that would welcome Rafa Benitez back with open arms. I think the problem for Benitez is he's got a contract in China which would cost, I think, upwards of 12 million a season to buy him out of. I think he's got 2 seasons left. That's a very expensive get somebody out of their contract, and Pochettino is available. I just think Pochettino, he's younger, he's fresher. I think would Rafa Benitez get a top job anywhere else in Europe? I don't think so. Pochettino would, and I think that makes him, all the big clubs in Europe would be linked with him, have been linked with him, would be interested in him. If Newcastle to get a manager like that, it's a huge statement, but we can wait and see what happens.
now Luke Edwards of the Daily and Sunday Telegraph, their North East sports reporter. Thank you for joining us on Kickoff this evening. Really interested to see what happens with that Newcastle takeover as and when it's announced. And I'm sure we'll hear from Luke and many others, including you Newcastle fans, when it is finally signed on the dotted line. One person who wants to sign on the dotted line is Dave Kitson. He's put himself forward as the PFA's new chief executive. He's asked 101 questions of the Players' Union. What questions, though, need to be asked about him? Stay with us on Kickoff.
When you need all the latest form and odds on all the sporting action, and you need it fast, you need the Coral Daily Download. Magnificent work! Every morning on the TalkSport Breakfast from 6. Get all the latest news and great offers in one essential package, delivered to your ears at the speed of sound. That is right out of the top drawer! Don't miss the Coral Daily Download every morning on the TalkSport Breakfast from 6 on TalkSport with Coral. Your best bet for breakfast.
Max is dreaming of riding.